All right, I wanted to do something a little different this morning and show you something called Distrobox, which is sort of a front end to Podman and to Docker. I don't have Podman or Docker installed right now, so I'll quickly install them. I'll do them one at a time so you can see what dependencies each brings in. DNF install Podman. This is on a Fedora 39 virtual machine that I just freshly installed. Okay, and it's got to do a little SE Linux relabeling in the file system because it's got an SE Linux policy that relates to Podman containers. That'll take just a minute or so. And we'll look at the versions of Podman and Distrobox once they're both installed, so you can see what versions I have in Fedora at time of recording. All right, so those are all the package for Podman. That's only 220 kilobytes downloaded. All right, RPM-Q, Podman, and Distrobox. So there you go, Podman 4.7.2 and Distrobox 1.50.2. Okay. So I don't really need to be root anymore. Now I've got this running tmux, which will be apparent here shortly. So what I'm going to do is create a container. What's cool about Distrobox is that it integrates with your local desktop system. And so if you install graphical applications in your container, they'll show up on your host. And also you can get to your home directory and everything like that, so you don't have to worry about copying files back and forth from two different file systems. It doesn't give you access to the entire file system on your host, but your user's home directory. There we go. All right, and it tells us how to enter that. Oops. And while that's going along, I will make a new one. Let's say Distrobox. Create name Ubuntu image Ubuntu. And I'll do this over here. And while that's going, I'll split it over here. Distrobox create name Debian image Debian. Now I'm not specifying any version, so it's going to be the latest, but if you want an earlier version or something like that, you can totally specify the tag that you want for the container image. Alright, so you can see in the top left there, the Fedora one is done, and I'm inside the container, and it set the host name to be Fedora. Alright, so we'll do a fourth one. Let's say Distrobox create name Arch Linux image Arch Linux. So if you want to see what version of Fedora, you can say cat etc. Red Hat release or OS release. OS release gives you a lot of additional information. I just want to know just the version. This is Fedora 39. I'm going to say sudo dnf install neo fetch. That's a program a lot of people like because it gives you a logo of the distro and it makes it easier to see what something is in a terminal window. Quite a bit of packages there. All right, so let's enter this one. And that one is done, so let's do cat etc. OS release, and you can see it's Debian version 12. And let's do sudo apt install neo fetch. And I wish these would go faster, but from on campus sometimes we have issues with getting all the metadata. After you get all the metadata for the package manager, usually your package managers won't have any trouble. All right, so let's look at what version of Ubuntu we have here. Cat etc. OS release, and that's Ubuntu 22.04.3, which is 2022 April, and they've updated it. This is the third update for it. They update it every 6 months because it is a long-term support release. So I'm going to do sudo apt install neo fetch. And this one's done over here, and I forgot how you install stuff on Arch, so I'm going to go to distrowatch.com and click on package management. Let's make this where it's a little more readable here. We're looking for Arch. It's in here somewhere. Come on, Arch, where are you? I must have overlooked it somewhere. Debian, Ubuntu, OpenSUSE, Fedora, CentOS, Control F, Arch. Holy cow! What happened to Arch? It used to be listed on here. I swear it used to be listed on here. Well, anyway, it's Pac-Man. Is Pac-Man listed? Pac-Man has been around. Oh, here it is right here. Why didn't it find it in my search? I don't know. But install new package from repository, Pac-Man space dash capital S and then the package name. Sorry for that wild goose chase there, but we'll sudo Pac-Man dash S neo fetch. Yes. All right, so let's clear the screen on all of these. Oops. That one I haven't done yet. And while that's gone, we'll say neo fetch and maybe make the font a little smaller. Maybe not that small. There we go. And you can see we've got these different distributions running in each window. So there you go. Let's install a graphical application. Let's see what version of, say, Inkscape each one has. Oops. What did I forget to do? I forgot to put sudo in front of that. There are 8 providers. We'll just go with the default and yes. Alright. And I know watching package managers do their thing is about as exciting as insert boring reference here. But I can just run Inkscape and notice how it pops up on my host here, and I'm running graphical application. Very first time you run it, sometimes it asks you some questions. There we go. Alright, so let's see about Inkscape. And so this is Inkscape 1.3, and here's the full version string down here. So I'm going to close that. And let's try Inkscape over here. This is version 1.2. So if I needed to run an older version or something, or a specific version from a different distro, or if the distro only had a specific version available. All right, let's do Inkscape here. Inkscape 1.1, so that's a bit different. And I would imagine Arch has 1.3 like Fedora does. Ooh, 20 years of Inkscape. Help about Inkscape. 1.3.2, so Arch has this newer version even than Fedora. So, now, here's my host system down here, and I've got Inkscape installed. And so this happens to be Fedora 39 as well. And so we're expecting to see, you know, Inkscape 1.3, just like we saw from the Distrobox container of Inkscape. Notice how when I go to graphics, there's only a few programs there, and this is my local one. Distrobox is a feature where you can take any software and make it appear on your local host, and you don't even have to have the container running, and you can just click on it from the menu and it'll just start the container and fire up the graphical application. And the way you do that is you say there's a Distrobox command within each container, and it's export app Inkscape. And so now if we look at our menu here and we go to graphics, it says Inkscape on Fedora. So that's a Fedora container. We'll do the same over here. I'll just copy it. Save myself a little bit of time. And that one will appear. And that one will appear. All right. There we go. So now if I go to graphics, we've got Inkscape on Arch, Inkscape on Debian, Inkscape on Fedora, and Inkscape on Ubuntu, and I can just click on it, and bam, it'll open it up. And I do have the, you know, versions of the Distrobox container running in the background, but this could totally not be open, and this would just immediately fire up. Again, you can tell on the title bar what it is, and you can see the version. So this would be 1.3.2. Oh, 1.1. Sorry, forgot which one I clicked on. There, that one will be the 1.3.2 version. So if you want to run any software from any other distribution, it's fairly easy, and it integrates with your desktop. Incidentally, as I mentioned, each one of these has access to all the files in your home directory. This is a new virtual machine, so I don't really have any stuff there. But let me touch sore thumb. So now you see there's sore thumb. We go over here. Notice it's there. I can access it from any of those containers, as well as my host itself. So that's pretty handy. So if I worked on, you know, a document in Inkscape on one container and then went to another container and ran an Inkscape again, I could access all the same files and everything. So that's kind of handy. I know I did Inkscape as an example, but it could be any graphical program, like a browser or word processor or what have you. Anyway, I think Distrobox is pretty neat. I'm going to just get out of all of these and just get back to my host system prompt. And what we can do is say Distrobox list. And maybe I'll reduce the font a little bit so it'll all fit. Yeah, you can see a little bit about the containers, how much memory they're using, how much CPU, and what image they're using. Notice since those are running, they really don't use much in the way of resources except for what you're running actively in them. If they're just sitting there doing nothing, really not much usage at all. But let me fire up the Arch Linux Inkscape, and I'll minimize that, and let's do that. And now you can see the Arch Linux went up a little bit, but not, you know, a whole lot, because some of that was probably cached in memory or something. But you can see how much memory I've dedicated to this virtual machine that I'm running all this stuff in, and so it's got approximately 4 gigs of RAM. All right, so that was Distrobox. Pretty cool. It's available for virtually all of the mainstream Linux distributions, mostly by the distributions themselves in their stock repositories, but if you're running a distribution that doesn't offer it in the stock repository, they do have a little script that you can find on their website so you can quickly install it, as long as your distribution provides Docker, or you can get Docker or Podman. Again, my preference obviously is Podman. Thanks for watching.